Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I am kind of just gonna be talking um about a recent experience I had um at a job interview. And I know this is not really the type of content I make, or at least it hasn't been, but I just really needed to, kind of get this off my chest. And you know I feel like once I say it, then it'll just be done. Um, and I guess, I want to see if maybe this has happened to anyone else. And you can let me know. But yeah, it's nothing. It's not a major, you know, experience. It's not anything, life changing or nothing like that. It was really weird to me, and I just wanna, kind of talk it out and then just be done with it. So, anyways, what happened was, and this was last week. So I had a job interview um, for a host position at a new restaurant in my city, and I was corresponding with, you know, the guy who was going to be interviewing me via email, and everything seemed to be okay, right? Um, he had emailed me to let me know that I would be meeting with him and we would be doing an interview. And he said, I'm looking forward to meeting you. So I had figured by that it's just gonna be, me and him. Me and then the guy who is interviewing me. Right? So I was prepared anyway for the interview, but I was expecting that it would just be, the one person interviewing me. So anyways, um I get there, and I was, a few minutes late just because it was kind of hard to find um, the way it was situated. But, anyways, I got in there and I met the guy who was, going to be interviewing me. And he seemed really nice. Everything seemed to be, you know, good. The conversation we were having was natural, it was easy, nothing felt forced. It was great, Um, and then we're walking to where we're gonna sit down, and then he kind of shows me in the direction of, where the general manager and, the setup crew were, right? And he said, "Oh, that's the general manager. He's gonna be joining us in a few minutes." And when he told me that, I just said, "Okay," because obviously I cannot, you know, it's not my place to refuse, and I want the job, so it's whatever. So I said, "Okay." Um, but I thought that it was weird because I wasn't. He didn't tell me this before I got here. He didn't tell me this, you know, when we were emailing each other, or the day of. He didn't tell me that there was going to be any other, person there to interview me. So I wasn't expecting that. But like I said, I quickly just said, okay, like that's fine. And then, we went to sit down, and I was genuinely okay with it. I was just kind of, um, taking it in, I guess. But I was fine with it. So we sat down, and, we're kind of getting acquainted. Um, making small talk, kind of joking. It was all fun and light and easy, right? And he made me feel really comfortable. So then he starts getting into the interview questions, and he only asked me like three, so that was really cool. Um, yeah, so before the interview questions, he was, like I said, making small talk and everything like that. And then the interview came. He asked me, fairly basic questions like, tell me about yourself. Why do you want this job? Why do you want, to get into the restaurant industry? Because up until, like, currently I don't have basically any restaurant experience. I've never really worked in a restaurant before. Definitely not as a host. So, and it says that on my resume. It says that I do not, have any restaurant experience. I have hospitality experience, and um, experience in customer service in the food industry, but not restaurant. And that's what my resume says. There's nothing on my resume that I made up. There's nothing on my resume that would indicate that I have any bit of restaurant experience. So just keep that in mind. So he knew, the guy who was interviewing me knew, because he saw my resume, he knew that I didn't have any restaurant or host experience. So, but I thought this was okay because, I was called in for an interview. I'm in the interview, right? So, something, he must have wanted something that he saw in my resume. So I thought this was okay. Anyway, so keep that in mind. So then he's asked me all stuff like that. And then he asked me, like I said, why do you want to get into the restaurant industry? And then I told him, honestly, why I wanted to. And it's because, I like it, it interests me. I really do want to get into the restaurant industry and, work my way up to becoming a bartender. So, and that's what I told him essentially. Um, and things between us were going well in the interview, as I felt, just because of how easy and natural the conversation felt, right? But then the second guy, the general manager, finally joins us. And at this point, it was, almost 10 minutes, I would say. So he finally joins us. And honestly, the minute he sat down, just everything switched. Like it was a complete 360, from how we started to where we were going, it was kind of like the conversation had completely died. Like it was done. Like it was just so weird to me because he comes up, the general manager, the other guy, and he introduces himself like, hi, I'm whatever. And then I said, oh, okay, nice to meet you. And then I went to go shake his hand, but it was kind of like he, I don't know, was maybe surprised that I was initiating a handshake, even though that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But it seemed like he kind of paused for a second and then he shook my hand. So that was the first weird thing. I was like, okay, that's weird, but whatever. I didn't take it as anything, and I just kept going with the interview because I didn't want to ruin my chances of getting the job, or make things awkward or weird. I didn't want to do anything like that. So I just said okay, whatever, in my head, and then he joined us and he sat down, and it was just so weird because he sat down and he didn't ask me any questions. Like, if there's gonna be two people interviewing me, most people would assume, I would assume, that both people are going to be interviewing me, that each person is going to take turns asking me questions. But that's not what happened. Like, he came over and sat down. Well, after that whole handshake thing, he came over, sat down, and just kind of looked from me to the guy who was interviewing me, and then back to me, and then he fixed his gaze on me, and he just kept smiling, but like a fake smile, like just like that. And it was so weird. I was thinking the whole time, like, why are you here? Like, obviously I don't mean to be rude, especially if I genuinely want a job. But I was truly confused as to why he was there, because he was literally just kind of like a spectator. Like, he was just watching, pretty much. Like, and then even weirder than that, he didn't ask the original person who was interviewing me, like, where we left off or what we covered, to catch himself up to speed. He didn't. He just kind of sat down and, like I said, just kind of stared and smiled and nodded, and that was it. And it seemed like the most disingenuous smile ever. Like, he, like, kind of like, he, it was a bother for him to be, sitting there with us, which made it even more weird. Um, but on top of that, after the guy who interviewed me, the original guy, he asked me, I think, one or two more questions after the general manager came around, or I think he was the general manager. So he asked me about two more questions, and then I answered them. And then one of his questions to me was, okay, so do you have any questions for me or for us. So then I asked two more, and then or two others, and then my third question was, so something along the lines of what are your ideal qualities for a candidate in this role. And it looked like the original guy who started the interview with me was gonna answer that question, but then finally this guy freaking says something, and he looks at me and he honestly says, well, what do you think are some ideal qualities for a candidate in this role? And I was kind of taken back by that question. I was taken back by his reaction because um, it just seems so weird to me. Like, I've never been in an interview, because I've been on a lot of interviews, and I've never been on an interview where, it's the portion of the interview where the candidate gets to ask questions to the employer, and the employer again flips the script and puts the questions back on the candidate. Like, I was under the impression that, okay, if it's the portion of the interview where I get to ask you questions, it means you answer the questions, not you answer the question with a question back to me. Like, that was so weird to me. And so I think it showed on my face that I was visibly confused, like, because I really was confused. I was thinking, like, did he really just say that? Like, did he really answer my question with a question back? Like, it was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest interview. It was so awkward and honestly a bit uncomfortable for me. I truly did feel uncomfortable in that situation the minute he joined the interview. I really did. And you know, in that moment when he asked me, so what do you think are the, ideal qualities in a candidate? I really did have to stop and think, not of, what qualities he wants me to say, because I obviously knew, some of the most basic and obvious, qualities they're looking for. But I had to stop and think about what I just heard and process it. And so I finally answered to the best of my abilities. And when I answered, again, same response, same dead, stoic response of, smile and nod, just like that. So I was really taken back. I was really confused, and I just said okay. And honestly, um, I started feeling that I wouldn't get the job. Um, the minute he sat down. Truly, honestly, like, I feel like most people, if not everyone, can kind of get a feeling of when someone doesn't like them, just by their attitude, their vibe, their mannerism, how they're looking at you, how they're responding to you. And honestly, everything about his demeanor just said, I don't like you, I don't want to hire you, and it was just really frustrating because I was never told, in advance, not once, that there was going to be two people, interviewing me, and especially one that was interviewing and one that was just sitting listening and judging. Like, I don't know. It was just, it was a really weird experience. I've been on bad interviews, I've been on good interviews, but nothing like this. Like, it was just really, really weird to me, and it just didn't sit well with me. And after I went home, I literally had to spend the whole day with my boyfriend because I just felt so, weird about it. I just felt so just uncomfortable with it, and then ultimately, obviously, I got the follow-up email telling me I didn't get the job. And, when I got that email, I knew right away it was because of the general manager. Because, like I said, we were doing fine. We were doing great. Everything seemed to be going great when it was just the two of us. But the minute, the general manager came down and sat with us, it just completely changed. Like, everything just went downhill from there. And it would, after that, I just kept saying to myself, like, I hate that I wasted my time coming down here and getting dressed and preparing just for it to go like that. Like, it was just really annoying. And I know that, you know, every interview you go on, it's going to be a risk of whether you get the job or not, and that's fine. But, you know, a heads up would have been nice just to know, you know. And I don't know, maybe the general manager that day decided, you know, I want to sit in with you and see how you interview. I don't know. It was just, it was annoying. It was a really annoying and a weird and an awkward situation. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of share what's happened. And yeah, and then after that, they just said, okay, we'll let you know. And then that same day, I got the email saying they won't take me. And then that was it. But anyways, I got hired somewhere else. So yeah, that's that. Anyways, if you like this video, please let me know. If you like storytime videos, also let me know, because I'm kind of deciding if I should, or if I should keep it up, or, you know, what's happening with story times and content like that. So if you do like it, let me know. Give a like, give a comment, and I will try and keep them coming. So with that, I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.